Hey, what's up everybody? Hector here, Kettlebell Expert Secrets on a Thursday. Coming a little bit late today, but got some great stuff for you today. So we talked about last week on why kettlebell training when you can use anything else. We talked about some of the core kettlebell exercises. So we've got our 6 core lifts, we've got our swing, we've got our get up, we've got our clean press, front squat, and then we have the snatch. Okay, so those are our 6 core kettlebell lifts, and then we have four advanced lifts. We've got our windmill and bent press, and we have our push press and jerk. Those are our 4 advanced kettlebell lifts. So we talked about those last week, and so today I want to talk about the differences between single kettlebell training and double kettlebell training, and which one should you be using. Should you be using both? Is there a preference one over the other? And so we're going to be breaking that down just a little bit today. So single kettlebell training is obviously where you're going to start as a beginner, and as you're getting to know the kettlebell lifts and getting to know what we call the deep 6. And so it's important that you master the single kettlebell lifts first, both whether it's 2-handed swing and then working towards one hand, and working on your one-handed swing, clean press, snatch, etc. And that's going to be where your foundation is going to be built with a single kettlebell. Single kettlebell allows you to work on conditioning, okay, and it helps you to work on building some strength as well. But you're going to mostly get a lot of conditioning out of single kettlebell training. You'll also get the strength component as well, because we can't have conditioning without strength. So an interesting thing, so if you ever notice, let's say you're doing 2-handed swings, okay? You're doing 2-handed kettlebell swings. You notice that, for the most part, you can't get all 4 fingers inside the bell, okay? Sometimes, if you got bigger hands, you're always gonna have to leave the last, your pinky fingers out of the handle. And the reason for that is, the reason why you can't get both hands in the bell for 2-handed swings is because the kettlebell was not designed to be used with 2 hands. The kettlebell was designed to be used for one hand, okay? So the kettlebell was designed to have one kettlebell in each hand, or just one kettlebell in a hand, okay? So that's one of the reasons why you'll notice that it's challenging to get both of your hands inside the kettlebell. So, what are the benefits of single kettlebell training? Well, for one, single kettlebell training is going to help with symmetry, okay? So, since you're going to be doing things on both left and right sides, whether it's you progress to one-arm swing, clean, snatch, strict military press, especially the get-up, they allow you to focus on building your strength and your conditioning symmetrically on both sides. And the same thing for flexibility and mobility. So like I mentioned in last week, we get flexibility, stability, conditioning, strength. We get all that in a training session with the kettlebell. Versus double kettlebell training. Now, double kettlebell training is where it's at, okay? That is where the fun begins, because now you're gonna get twice the strength, twice the conditioning, fat loss. I mean, it goes on and on and on, because now you're moving twice the load in the same time. So you're going to get a lot more work done, okay? A lot more calories burnt, a lot more strength building in the same training session, because now you're using double the load. So let's say for an intermediate to an advanced male, you're using a pair of 24-kilo bells and you're doing complexes. You're going to burn a ton more calories, build a lot more strength and lean muscle, because you're using 2 kettlebells. Same thing for the ladies. Ladies, if you're using a pair of kettlebells, so if your goal is to put on lean muscle and strip body fat, you want to progress to using 2 kettlebells, okay? That doesn't mean that you train with 2 kettlebells only and one kettlebell, that's for, beginners. No, single kettlebell training is for elite lifters also. In the TSC, the Tactical Strength Challenge, we have an event, we have the snatch event. And the men and women in the elite division are doing 100 plus snatches with a 32 and a 20 kilo respectively. So it's crucial that you master the single kettlebell skills first before you move on to the double. But that doesn't mean that single kettlebell skills are any less important than double kettlebell training. The one thing that I love about single kettlebell work is that after a pretty intense double kettlebell program, I highly encourage people, and we take our students through a single kettlebell program for about 2 to 4 weeks. And what that allows us to do is that allows us to see if we've created any bad habits. Because with double kettlebell training, you're symmetrically loaded. Okay, you've got one bell in each hand, so you may be able to hide. You may be able to hide doing double swings, double cleans. You may be able to hide things like that. Strength-wise, you may be able to hide things like that, but another way you'll be able to hide and creating bad habits in double kettlebell training is maybe through the abs. So when you're double loaded on both sides, you won't get this like kind of lateral flexion from side to side because you're symmetrically loaded. If anything, you'll get some backward extension a little bit, but you won't get any lateral flexion. Now, if you go to single kettlebell work and you do one clean and you start to press, you may notice if you get exaggerated or more lateral flexion to the side because you're not staying tight on the same side that you're pressing. And that could be that can be a compensation that you've developed over the course of a double kettlebell program. And then that will magnify as you go down to single kettlebell work. The same thing with swings. If you're doing double swings or even two-handed swings, you may not see any strength asymmetries or instability because you're symmetrically loaded. But as soon as you start working on one-handed swings or even one-arm snatches, you may get some rotation. You may start losing the shoulder in the bottom of the swing. You may notice that maybe the shoulder comes unpacked a little bit for the one-arm swing or the one-arm snatch. So those are some really great benefits of going to a single kettlebell program after doing a pretty intense double kettlebell program. We always use that single kettlebell work to clean up any bad habits and any compensations that we may have picked up along the way. So that's one of the core reasons, why you would choose single over double or double over single. So it all depends on your goals, but you always have to start with one kettlebell. But if your goal is to put on muscle or strip body fat like really quick, okay, so if you're looking for the best bang for your buck and you're short on time and you have to and you're just short on time, you're like myself, you're a busy dad, you're a busy parent, and you're struggling with getting in your training, picking up the kids, doing all that fun stuff, right? If you're struggling with that, double kettlebell is going to give you the best bang for your buck because you're going to get twice the work done in the same time period. And you're going to be able to keep your training sessions really short. So you'll be able to keep your training sessions from like 10 to 15 minutes training with double kettlebells. That's the really cool part of training with double kettlebells. It's going to be a little challenging to build max strength with single kettlebell work. You can, but you're going to have to do a lot more work, a lot more volume compared to doing double kettlebell. Okay? But here's a cool thing I want to share with you guys that I learned a lesson last night. So I'm working on a swing program that will be released here soon. But we're currently running it through a beta group and we're having it tested out. And I'm doing double kettlebell swings, and I had to do them late last night. And I had a deadlift session earlier in the day yesterday. And it was probably one of the hardest deadlift sessions that I've ever had. And I was just really fatigued, so I wasn't feeling, I didn't feel like doing my swings after the deadlift. So I waited and did them at the end of the night. But here's something that I mentioned. With single kettlebell work compared to double kettlebell work, you'll notice that you can find any asymmetries that you may be building up. And you may not necessarily find that training with double kettlebells. Well, I had a small little, like an aha moment kind of, but like a lesson that I learned. And something that I noticed that I was doing as I was getting deep into my practice with my swings. So last night I had 26 sets of 5, okay? And I did them on the minute every minute. So it took me a little under 26 minutes to finish. So a little under 26 minutes to finish. I had 26 sets. But one thing that I noticed that I was doing as I was getting into the heart of the sessions, when I was getting like, I don't know, I was around 15 sets, like set 15, what I noticed that I started doing was, at the top of my swing, as soon as I drove through my hips, and at the top of my swing, one of the bells was coming up higher than the other bell for like all 5 swings. I noticed that as I would swing and drive through the hip, I'd get one bell would come up slightly higher than the other bell. So that's one of the cool things that I've noticed about the double kettlebell swing, is that you can even find strength asymmetries using the double kettlebell swing. So what I noticed was I wasn't getting as good of a hip drive, and I wasn't getting a full glute contraction through my glutes, probably because of how tough my deadlift session was earlier in the day. I wasn't quite recovered, but I needed to get in those swings. I didn't want to fall behind. So I noticed that when you're doing double kettlebell swings, basically one arm, let's see if I can show this here, one arm on the downswing, one arm is connected to this hip and one hand is connected to that hip. Then you hinge through, drive through the hip, and then you get the bells to come up. So what was happening, one of the reasons why I couldn't get one bell was rising higher than the other was because I was getting more of a hip drive through my right glute compared to my left glute. And I thought it was kind of odd, so I took like a couple of minutes of a break, and I worked on some single leg bridges, and then I worked on some single leg deadlifts to really kind of target and isolate each glute one at a time. And then as soon as I did that, I went right back into my next set of swings, and they evened back out. So I was able to spot that one of my glutes was not firing optimally. Did a little drill, did a couple of drills. I did 5 deadlifts per side, single leg deadlifts per side with a 24, and then I did 5 glute bridges, single leg glute bridges per side, body weight. And as soon as I did that, I went right back to my swings, and my swings leveled out, and I was getting an equal drive through both of my glutes. That's something that I noticed during my training, and that's what makes it training and not working out. So you're going to hear me say that a lot. You know, at Hardstyle we train, we don't work out, because at the end of the day, you know, training is something that you should learn a lesson from. Training is something that should be enjoyed. You should not, you know, dread your training sessions, aka workouts. So that's something that I noticed, that I kind of learned last night, and that and then once I kind of fixed that asymmetry, I really focused on improving each set. So I had 26 sets, right? So that's a lot of work. I had 26 sets, and so each set I tried to add a little something each time. Each set I tried to focus on something specific that maybe I wasn't doing optimally, whether it was my head position, or if it was my breath, or if it was obviously my glute contraction. I noticed that, my grip. If anything just kind of felt off, I made it mindful to really focus on improving that on the next set. So that's something I highly encourage you guys. If you have quite a bit of high volume scheduled for a certain day, and maybe it's you know, multiple sets but like really low repetitions, I highly recommend take advantage of that and use that as a skills practice, and really hone in those skills, whether you're working on cleans or presses or swings, doesn't matter what it is. Try to improve something on from set to set. And so that's something very simple that you know, take into consideration whenever you're getting into, if you're just getting into kettlebell training. Always you got to start with 1 bell and then progress into 2, and then you're going to pretty much bounce back and forth. When you're trying to build max strength, you got to use double kettlebells. You're trying to put on more like muscle mass, you've got to use double kettlebells. Single kettlebell work, I like to use that as kind of like I mentioned, for those who may just be joining us, I like to use single kettlebell work to clean up any bad habits or any compensations that I may have developed while training with double kettlebells. So I'll go through maybe 2 to 4 weeks of some one-arm swings, single leg deadlifts, one-arm military presses, get-ups, and I do them both sides. And sure enough, I usually find something. And I take those 2 to 4 weeks to clean that up, and then I go right back into another double kettlebell program. or continue with my bar. I've got a long journey ahead of me with my barbell deadlift. So train with a barbell deadlift. It's a bilateral movement. Bilateral movement simply means I've got both feet on the ground and I'm driving through both legs. Unilateral movements are, single leg deadlift, pistol squats, one arm military pressing. Those are unilateral movements. So anytime you train something that's bilateral, you always want to train something that's unilateral. Okay. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. I put something together. I just finished it today, and it's something really cool that I've been working on maybe like the last 2 months, and I just finished it up. I just put it on my website, and I put together about 8 of some of my favorite single and double kettlebell workouts. It's a little ebook that you can download from my homepage of my website. Just go to hardstylecettlebell.com. At the bottom of the page, it's called Kettlebell Workout Snacks, and it's something that I put together because for myself, as a busy dad, as a busy parent, business owner, sometimes I've found myself I cannot keep up 1 hour training sessions. I need something that's quick. Sometimes I need something that's 10 or 15 minutes. And so I put something together like that, mostly for me, but then I figured I know some of you guys would probably enjoy that as well. So you can get that free on my website. Just go to hardstylecettlebell.com. At the bottom of the page, fill out the form, and we'll send it over to you within the next 15, 20 minutes or so. So that's all I got for you guys today. Stay tuned tomorrow because I'm doing an interview with my good friend James Bettis of the Mattress Firm. We're going to be talking about health. We're going to be talking about exercise, kettlebells. You're going to get to hear his story. He's got a very unique story. So stay tuned tomorrow. We're going live at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's going to be a really great interview and a really great story for you guys to hear. So that's all I got. Go to hardstylecettlebell.com. Grab your copy of Kettlebell Workout Snacks, my 8 favorite single and double kettlebell programs. Bye.